Today I'm going to be presenting my persuasive speech on whether cell phone should be allowed to be used in school. And this is my audience. Okay. Okay. Did you know that there was a teacher from a school in China that took a student's phone during class and destroyed it because the student was using it instead of paying attention to the teacher? This is just one example of many negative acts teachers have taken to rid of cell phone use in schools. Seems a bit excessive, right? Luckily, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, not only for the students, but the teachers as well. A newfound way of teaching is taking over. What would you say if I told you schools not only in Ohio, but all around the nation are taking a positive stand on cell phone use in schools, allowing kids to have a little more freedom than they once did? You're probably thinking, well, that's ridiculous. But open your mind for a minute and let me invite you to understand why I, among many others, stand on the side of cell phone use. After extensive research through Piqua City Schools' cell phone policies, I found they only allow cell phones with teacher approval and only for educational use. Under any other circumstances, they are not to be seen during school hours. This policy through Piqua is my basis for my speech, where I have found numerous sources within Ohio and outside of Ohio to back up my claim that cell phones should be allowed in school. I am now able to present you with all my research. I believe after extensive research that cell phones should be allowed in schools today. Now, I don't mean freely use their phones whenever they feel like it, but use it as an incentive. You know the youth like the rebellious side of life, so either way they're going to use that phone whether you want them to or not. That's where the ideas I'm going to discuss in a minute come into play. So my thesis is that cell phone use should be allowed in Piqua City schools on a more flexible basis in order to allow, as a safety barrier for parents to students during the school day, increase student positivity in the classroom with mental breaks, and most importantly, creating extensive learning opportunities for students and teachers. Okay, so my first reason. How many of you, what are the top things you worry about when sending your kids to school? And I bet the majority of you would, one of them at the top 5 would be safety. What would I say if I tell you cell phone use can actually be a helpful tool when it comes to emergencies or safety problems? According to WDTN, in the state of Ohio alone, we have had 6 school shootings take place between 2000 and 2017. And that's not even including the bomb threats and the other things that have been on the news that have also taken place in the school that could be a danger to students and teachers. A student from Westerville Local Schools out of Columbus states that some schools are completely banning them, but ours is a good compromise. It's nice to have it in case something happens to my parents or to my sister. It's a good peace of mind. Cell phone texts and one calls allow students and teachers to be more alert of emergency situations. If a lockdown were to occur and an active shooter was roaming within the building, this is something that no intercom or public broadcast would benefit the students or the staff under danger at that time. So this idea of silent communication prepares the students and the teachers while also having the ability to reach out to parents of the students to give them information in the event of an emergency. Cell phones have such a worldwide usage in the country that school districts need to take an account for them when creating emergency plans. Okay, in addition to creating a little peace of mind, cell phones also benefit greatly when it comes to allowing mental breaks to students while in school. How many of you benefit from a little break every now and then at work? Have you ever thought kids feel the same way during school? So allowing for a mental break, even if it's just 10 minutes out of the day, it will make a difference in their attitude towards school. A psychologist named Judy Willis from Utopia stated, taking brain breaks can be beneficial in more than one way. It can restore a student's emotional state and bring positivity back to the classroom while also making the students a little happier. 10-minute breaks have been shown to increase positivity among students in the classroom. Wouldn't it be more reasonable to miss out on a couple minutes of class time than to lose a student's interest altogether halfway through the school day? In that position, they really aren't retaining any information, making a strict learning schedule more or less pointless. Kids will find a way to break the rules. They'll text on their phones during class, and they will get distracted at times. This is where setting boundaries for students can make all the difference, especially the older kids, letting them know when it's appropriate time to take out their phone and giving them the option to take a break, because sometimes that's all you really need. All right, and now that you know mental breaks can be beneficial for students, let me inform you on how they can be beneficial in the learning process. Cell phones can be used to aid in the learning process. There are so many websites and apps available today that allow extra learning opportunities to kids who are struggling or just trying to find other ways to study. Russell Musselman, a superintendent of a local school system, stated to the press, "The reality is that society has evolved into a culture where the majority of people are carrying cell phones. Schools can fight the culture, or they can figure out ways to work within the culture. Not spending hours confiscating phones means more hours of instruction, and I believe that as we give freedom to our students, most of them see that as respect, and they don't violate the rules." Digital learning is another huge plus to cell phone use. There are millions of math tutorials and public speaking expertise videos on topics that might be difficult for students to understand, and this gives them that extra assistance on top of what they're already receiving in class. Cell phone use also provides the students with further instruction outside of the classroom, from the teachers on an anonymous texting app, while also allowing students a place to converse thoughts and ideas outside of the classroom in a type of study group. Westerville Local School District out of Columbus, Ohio, had students talking to TV10 about the class texting ability, and one student stated, "It's about trying to differentiate and trying to create as many different ways to get kids on board with what we're doing. It really has forced a lot of people in education to rethink how we do things or how we should do things." Okay. Now that you all have a different perspective on the educational use of cell phones in the classroom, through not only my eyes, but also current high school students and the superintendent, I want to gather on my thoughts and recognize the refuting side of cell phone use in schools. It is often argued that information provided through the internet may not always be appropriate or accurate for the learning environment. And this may be 100% the case, but let me explain why this can be addressed differently. We have the ability to teach students the proper sites to use when looking for reliable information. We all learn this at some point, so why not teach them early on? Going back to giving students a chance to make the right choice when it comes to their education. And if they choose to fall off the path, they will be disciplined accordingly. And I'm going to go back again and emphasize how important it is to allow students to learn from mistakes. Allow them to feel like they're giving them a choice, but always remind them that consequences in the event that they don't follow the rules you do have for the electronic devices in the classroom. This will create a respect barrier. The students will have more respect for you as a teacher because they're given these opportunities. And lastly, we are the educators of today, trained to teach and enlighten the minds of the youth. There has never been only one way to teach. You have to adjust, adapt, accommodate students regularly because not everyone learns at the same pace or with the same ability as others. This is the same idea with cell phone use. Kids use these regularly, accommodate what they know now, and find a way to spark their interest in learning every single day. Okay, again, cell phone use can be beneficial with not only the parents when it comes to safety issues, but this can be benefit the students' overall attitude towards school, learning, while also benefiting the learning process by creating a wide access to different learning mediums. Giving students communication opportunities with peers outside the classroom, and lastly, giving students a sense of control over their actions, setting boundaries for them to follow, and creating repercussions if the rules are broken at any point in time. All right, imagine for a minute being in a learning environment where students are happy to be there and teachers are happy to teach each and every day. Cell phones are a part of our lives, and more importantly, our students' lives. Our tool of choice just happened to be a pencil, and theirs happened to be a cell phone. Instead of pushing their ideas out the door, why not give this generation of digital natives a chance to change the way we learn and broaden the horizons further than we could have ever imagined? Try this. Next time you step foot in a classroom, or next time you go to take your child's phone before they get on the school bus, stop for a minute and think pro cell phone. Reimagine the opportunities that lie within these tiny devices and all the possibilities they can provide for us, not only teaching, but learning. In other words, let your kids take the phone to school. And let kids take the phone to school and find and use it to find answers to questions that maybe you don't have an answer for, but you want more than one possible answer. Give them the opportunity to show the positive side of this wonderful piece of technology we've been given. I want to end with a final quote from Jose Luis Vilson, a teacher in Texas, stated to WBUR. So instead of trying to push it out of our schools, why not make it an integrated part of our schools and have kids be more responsible with it? And why not make those tools that they have in their pockets into a tool for learning? And oftentimes I find that when we teach children not to do something when they become adults, they have a harder time actually using it in a responsible way. Thank you all for your time and attention. It was greatly appreciated.